Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. It's your t-shirted historian here. It's good to see you all again. Wow, we got a great guest today. I'm really excited. The last time I had Mr. Raggi on, it was a 5.5 hour show, and it was amazing. He's an easy guy to talk to. He's a wonderful guy to talk to, and I have so much fun whenever he's on. But, I got to do my rant, so this is an easy one because I was actually talking about this with Grim yesterday. So, as you probably have seen during the week, I released a music video. Well, I made the music myself, more or less. I mean, I used AI to do it. And it's kind of interesting. I was having this discussion with Grim yesterday because, the both of us have been kind of exploring AI-generated music lately. Not because, we want to overthrow the music industry or anything like that, but quite simply, it's to stop getting copyright slapped by YouTube every time you want to use a piece of music. Because, after all, we all want a good piece of music or something, some kind of entertaining background noise while we're, doing a video. And there's only a few royalty-free tracks available out there, and as we've seen on more than one occasion, even stuff that is whitelisted as royalty-free often ends up getting claimed. Not necessarily by the original creators, but by other people who have used it in their videos and are just, being penis heads about it. And it's annoying. So, I honestly have started to think about real seriously just investing in using completely AI-generated music for everything. Don't worry, our opening tracks, our Faderhead tracks are safe as far as I know. I'm still on really good terms with Sammy. I love the dude. I think he's indifferent to me. I don't know. I keep trying to get him on the show, but he's remarkably resistant. But that's okay. I'll wear him down. We'll get Faderhead on the show eventually. But at the very least, he's kind enough, to let me use his music in his shows, and we're happy to promote him because, he needs the sales. He needs the outreach. In my own way, I like to support artists, especially independent artists, not just of gaming content, but also video gaming content, of music content. I would like to showcase more independent labels on this channel, but as soon as we post up anything, for example, I just got the latest Borknagar album, and most of y'all are probably going, who the hell is Borknagar? They're a Norwegian progressive metal band that's been out. Well, they started out as black metal, actually. They've been out for years and years and years, and they're really awesome. And I'd love to play their stuff on my channel, but I don't want to get slapped with copyrights. And on more than one occasion, I've asked bands like, "Hey, can you guys can we play your stuff and promote you, and you not hit us with copyrights?" And those emails just go unanswered. I don't know why. Maybe they don't see them under the huge pile of fan mail that they get, or maybe they get redirected to somebody who, throws them in the spam box. I really don't know. But whatever the case is, it's like, my pleas to show more people your work go unheeded, so we don't get to showcase their stuff. And they don't get traction, and, they're left to, manage it on their own. And I guess if that's what they want to do, that's fine. To me, it's leaving money on the table. Because I'm sure a lot of YouTube channels out there would love to promote more independent artists, But que sera. So, but getting back to the AI-generated music, something I was saying to Grim was, this stuff is actually pretty good right now. It's not perfect. Not yet. but it'll get there. And in about 10 years, this is my prediction, in about 10 years, the AI music generators, if they don't get hit with lots of legal considerations, people are probably going to be turning to these more often than real artists. Now, do I think actual real artists are ever going to go out of style? No, because there's nothing that beats being at a live concert. Unless, of course, you don't like to be around huge crowds of people and noise and booze and whatever. In which case, you know, you're probably watching it on videos anyway. But I do think that AI music is going to become a real threat to the music industry in at least the next 10 years, because it's going to get better and it's going to get better. And what I theorize is going to happen is at some point, some band is going to authorize the use of their lyrical style or their vocals or their guitaring styles or whatever out to AI as a form of royalties, and that will be sold so that you can start doing music in the style of, you know, Motley Crue, or music in the style of Bruce Springsteen or whatever. You know, and there's other possibilities for the AI as well. I mean, you know, they can take this stuff and bring dead artists back to life. I mean, would you ever want to hear God help you for this, but if you ever wanted to hear a duet between Ariana Grande and Elvis Presley, you know, well, they can kind of resurrect Elvis Presley's voice and use AI to bring him back to duet with Ariana Grande. It's going to happen. It's already happening. You know, I just the other day I tuned into somebody doing, you know, Elvis Presley doing "Baby Got Back." And I thought it was hilarious, but then again, I started thinking, you know, once this gets perfected, it's going to be almost virtually impossible to tell it from the real thing. So we're going to have a really interesting future. So keep your ear out for the music industry, see what's going on, because things are going to get pretty hot pretty soon. Mark my words. All right, let's get on with it. Here we go, Mr. Grimm.
Hello.
Mr. Greg.
Hey, how's it going?
And our guest, Mr. James Edward Raggi IV.
Okay, I got two bones to pick immediately after listening to this crap about AI music. I mean, you can see I still, you know, CD shelves back there. Still do CD. I would do.
I do too.
It's too expensive and takes up too much space.
Agreed.
But, you know, AI music. That's my comment. And you mentioned Borknagar. The main songwriter in Borknagar,
Oystein G. Brun.
Yeah. Before he was in Borknagar, he was in a death metal band called Molested, and Osmos recently reissued their album from the early 90s. So that was, you know, the new Borknagar stuff wasn't in my immediate pile, but Molested is. So.
And we're demonetized.
One of the words you told me not to say. What? YouTube doesn't want us to talk about Molested?
No.
Can't talk about anything anymore.
No, YouTube doesn't like us to do anything, but we stay on this platform because it gets us the most views. So, I mean, hey, look at all the people tuned in today. We got like 15 to start with. Hopefully we'll get some more. I don't know where the other ones are. I mean, but anyway, and I'm glad to see you again.
Yes, it's very nice. It's the two gyms and two cartoons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, I could put my hands on and everything like that, but you know, my camera's aimed at my table.
Be professional. Just put some books you're advertising up. That's how it's done.
Oh, I almost can't do that.
Everything's getting worse. That's how YouTube works.
Is it?
Apparently.
I don't think necessarily things are getting worse, but they're just changing. And, either we're going to change with the times or we're going to get left behind, which seems to be the way.
The times are nothing to keep up on. I mean, I'm publishing in the OSR sphere, so, tell me again about how important it is to keep up with the times.
Well, actually, as a matter of fact, I did see something that was kind of timely. I figured you guys would get a good laugh at this. So this is apparently a page from the new PHP. Oh no, Watsy's going to come after us.
Yeah,
but
Pinkertons
will be showing up on my door. But yes, this is about half-orcs apparently. And I love how they put this. Orcs and human tribes sometimes form alliances, joining forces into a larger horde to the terror of civilized lands nearby. When these alliances are sealed by marriages, half-orcs are born.
Yeah, alliances.
Alliances.
The orcs rolling up on some village, and the village elder is like, "Take my wife, please."
Alliances. Yes. Marriage. So yeah, that's how half orcs are born. Yeah, very, very. And then I like how it continues to go on talking about half orcs. Half orcs feel emotion powerfully. Rage doesn't just quicken their pulse, it makes their bodies burn. An insult stings like acid, and sadness saps their strength. Kind of like, that doesn't sound like a really tough, dude for some reason.
It sounds like people in the people in the chat.
Oh.
Sadness saps their strength.
Sadness saps their strength.
Oh my goodness. Why are you looking at the new Players Handbook? Is this something you actually thought you would enjoy?
No, I just enjoy laughing at it.
Why?
Because it's funny.
Engagement farming.
It's engagement farming, I suppose.
I haven't even looked at the 5th edition Players Handbook from 10 years ago. I'm not going to look at the new one.
Well, not all of us are awesome enough to have made our own game and been successful with it. So we just get to laugh at other people's stuff.
Why not? It's just an OGL rewrite. It's not that hard.
It's a really good one, though.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I've always talked about how awesome I think Lamentations really is, because you did a lot of stuff that actually makes the system even better. I mean, yes, it's BX with the serial numbers filed off, but it's done in such a way to really make it a good system. I mean, the fighters getting, attack bonuses every level, the skill system being added in, the very heavily curated mage spell list, which keeps them from overpowering the party and yet still being incredibly dangerous to the party. The summon spell, which is my favorite spell ever. Not to mention all the new ones in the other books that you published, which are really hilarious and awesome.
I have a beef with Raggi right now.
Uh-oh.
Because somebody told me that there was a Lamentations kaiju module.
Yes.
There is.
And I bought it. And there was very little kaiju. and very little mecha. It was all at the end. So that's my beef. I had to clear the air on that and be like, damn you, Raggi.
The adventure is about missing teenagers in 17th century Norway.
Yes.
That's what the adventure is about. And yes, it does have mecha and it does have kaiju at the end. You can't start off with that stuff. Come on, you got to build properly. But we're talking about Earth Incubation Crisis, and it's too far to just casually grab. But that adventure does pose the important question. If underage girls interfere with a corpse,
well, here we go.
Who's the victim?
Depends. Do spirits exist in this hypothetical?
I don't
Yeah, but once
know.
you're a spirit, I mean, is the body you
Well-
anymore? I mean, you're not in there.
A conscious ghost thing, someone might take offense if
like-
if their spirit lives on, you know.
It's like the zombie thing. They're not really. Are they really them anymore, or are they something else?
Yes.
Well, let's see. We got some super chats. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight those real quick. From our friend Hungar, the Starvarian, for $2. Have a great show, buddy. Hey, man. You have an awesome day too. I hope you're still here.
Good to be seeing eye to eye again. Thanks, V. Truly.
We've got Mercurius, one of our good friends, for Australian $2 says, humans are icky. I have to agree. And since you said another one, I'm going to go ahead and get that next one. Yeah, for another $2. Emo Orcs. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. We have emo half orcs. I don't know. Could it possibly be the fault of
China, that's where the fun is at. China, that's where the fun is.
I don't know. But anyway.
You ain't going out pillaging dressed like that. Put some furs on.
Uh-huh. But Dad, it's cold. All right. So I gotta ask. I'm sure you brought lots of product to GenCon. Did you leave with like nothing, or?
I didn't leave with nothing, but we packed a van full of product going there, and leaving we could put what was left over into somebody's car. So
Wow, that's nice.
yes, our top seller, completely unexpected, was. Are we still worried about YouTube demonetization?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
kinda.
The top seller, to my complete surprise, was "Don't F the Priest."
I bet everybody wanted their sign, didn't they?
Well, no, because very few, because it's a shrink wrapped box set, and I guess people didn't want to break the shrink wrap. But we were lucky enough to have Professor Dungeon Master plug some of our stuff as one of the, as one of the booths you must go to. And these things, we were completely out of "Don't F the Priests" early on Friday. I mean, it's nice. We haven't sold that many of a single product at GenCon since before the pandemic, so that was very nice. But I'm also thinking, oh my God, we left thousands of dollars on the table by not bringing enough.
Huh. I was actually going to ask you about that. I know that a year ago, you guys had problems with the U.S. warehouse closing down.
Yeah. I'm sort of glad it wasn't just me. They got rid of a lot of their role-playing clients, and I was hoping to get the U.S. web store back up and running this past week, but I'm still needing a bit more information on international postage rates, and as soon as I get that, it'll be back up and running and hopefully making money again.
Nice.
Nice.
But that's a pain in the butt having a ship. What do we have? 12 pallets worth of stuff in the warehouse.
I always think it's. Go ahead.
It's just depressing. And it's like 6 months ago, and we still haven't gotten everything back up and running. And it's just like, oh my God, nothing can go right. I'm just going to say, let's do 5.5 hours of me just whining. How's that? That's all the views. Nothing goes right. The world is against me. Just nothing's fair.
Actually, I think that's kind of a tribute to you guys' success, is the fact that it does sometimes seem like the world is against you, and yet you persevere, you keep selling books, you keep making people happy with your stuff. And one of the things, this is something I noted, one of the hallmarks of a Lamentations product is the the kind of the FOMO, the fear of missing out on them, because I got into Lamentations of the Flame Princess pretty late. So I didn't actually start finding your books until like a couple of years ago. And by that point, you had already, published a ton of stuff. And of course, you have limited print runs, which is part of the collectability of these things, because you can look on the back and say, like, this is number 567 of 1,000 copies, first printing or whatever, which adds to their collectability. But also, the sad fact is, the only way I was able to acquire some of these books was through the secondary market. And of course, those guys are charging me an arm and a leg for stuff, like $50 for, Vaginas Are Magic, which was a free product from what I remember. And I think I paid $50 for Better Than Any Man, which was the free version day. And, the collectability of these things is just awesome.
Well, it could be the logistical concerns as well, because you don't want to have a pallet of something that you thought people were going to buy, and then they ended up maybe not wanting to buy as many copies, and it's just sitting in the warehouse.
Yeah, Science Mile. Yes, I really wish I had a physical copy of Veins of the Earth for certain with ReFomo. Yeah, there's a lot of older titles that I would love to be able to get a hold of that wouldn't cost me an arm and a leg. I mean, if I went looking for Red Red Land right now, I'm sure it would be like a $300 markup. I mean, I already paid like $175 to get Maze of the Blue Medusa, and it's a second printing.
And what have you done with that?
I've read it several times. I need to get it. I need to run it, but I do love it. Yeah, I keep it near and dear on the shelf for now. Pulling it down every once in a while to show it off and read over it and think, we got to get a game together for this.
Well, that's better than I do. Some of the fancy reprints of non-role-playing books that I buy, especially from the U.S., that'll be like $75 for the book, and they charge me $75 shipping. And then I get it. It's like, I paid $150 for it. I'm not going to take this out of the shrink wrap. I still have the old 70s paperback version that I, got off eBay for 75 cents. Just read that, but I'll have the connectors thing on the shelf. So, yeah, I got a lot of expensive shrink wrapped things on the shelf. And it's like,
well, I try not to push the whole collectability thing on my end. It's kind of like, if I buy a book, be it a comic book or a regular book, it's not to resell it. It's because I wanted to read it and hopefully at some point use it. And, but the fact that the books that you guys print is so nice, they really are. If nobody's ever seen a Lamentations book, they're gorgeous. I've shown them off on the channel more than once, and it's just they're really well bound. They're well printed. They're worth it, and they're not sold originally at a ridiculous price. They're actually very low priced for what you get. It's the secondary market that is ridiculous.
I don't know, because the prices have gone up on printing, and for example, the A True Relation of the Great Virginia Disaster from 1633. We've got a version, three versions that we're selling. One's the PDF, one is just a 3-book set, and then we've got the whole slip case and everything.
That one's cool.
Version and these books, it's not cheap because we went all out. Even the books have the fancy cloth binding. I was getting the light. And the metallic foil, and I just wanted to point something out. Not only do they look nice,
ooh,
we get yeah. See, we these are. I keep. Do you have a physical copy of the new Players Handbook?
No.
Yeah, okay. So I was going to challenge you on air to see what would happen. I don't know. I mean, I know people got them at GenCon, but I don't know how well constructed they are. I just thought it would be hilarious if it might fall apart live on stream.
Oh no, that'd be funny. No. Believe me, if I'd been at GenCon, I'd have been over at your booth.
Yeah, because I don't see. I'm nervous about talking about the collectability. I mean, the slipcase version of this, we only printed 300 copies, so it's like this was designed for collectability. Originally, the idea was going to be the entire print run being the slipcase and everything, but then it would have been over 200 euros, and it's like I don't think we can sell more than a couple hundred of those at that price. So we did the big vision for just a few hundred, and then for everyone else is just the 3 books. But it's like the thing about collectors, and as I like getting fancy versions of things. I get like the digibook hardcover re-releases of metal albums. I've got some of the really oversized. They're on the shelf. I'm not going to get up and show my butt on stream, but it's like I like fancy versions of things when they're available, when I can afford them. So I that's my justification for doing my versions of things. But it's trying to appeal to a collector's market isn't the idea. I mean, collectors subsidize the players for role-playing games, because I suspect there's a lot more collectors than there are players. But the things are meant to be played. I mean, that's what they're for.
Exactly.
So talking about the collectability and everything, it's like, well, yeah, but that's not the point. I mean, we put this stuff together hoping that people are going to sit down and play it, and that's what I want to hear about. I hear about people want to tell me and talk to me about everything but what happens when they play the friggin' game. It's like
Oh, I know. I can imagine. I mean, the other game that I play quite a bit is Kingdom Death Monster, and of course that has limited runs on the figures. And half the time, I know that people are buying these things up just to resell them on eBay for incredibly inflated prices. And like morons, we got to have it because it's either got game material that we want to add into our game, or it's got a figure that we really want to paint. So yeah, we end up paying those jacked up prices.
They must be making money hand over fist, because they've got like 8 times my booth size. They had like 2 separate islands, and it's like, oh my god, these people paying like 20 grand just to be in the door, and then they've got like half a dozen employees. They're building, like they're building a shop on site, and it's like, oh my god, how does this make? How much of this are they selling? These lucky bastards.
Yeah, they.
Lucky,
I mean,
like they haven't put a lot of work into it, right? Pure.
Well,
work.
I mean, it's. That's, I mean, I love seeing success stories like that, though. Like little companies that, can start and be successful and grow and get bigger and bigger. And hell, I mean, someday it would be awesome if, there was some kind of, I think kind of, this is how my warped brain works, but there's almost a correlation. It's almost, I kind of think like, so one of these days, Kingdom Death Monster should get with Raggi, and they should put something together and just make like a limited edition, collectible, figure of, something that Raggi made, or a book that could be used in both games. That would be sweet, but because that would be a huge collectible. I mean, people would buy the shit out of that thing.
I think they really hit the timing on producing boutique products. I think that's a big part of what happened there. They just hit it exactly the right time. And I also think a lot of their material is quite sexy, and there's not a lot of competition in that arena at the moment. So I think that helps them too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, would you rather pay $110 for like a badass looking dude on a armored war beast or something from Games Workshop that is supposed to be in the meta, but will not be in the meta, next time or next year, that you will have to take it out of rotation? Or would you rather pay $60 for this, hot looking, sexy female figure that, you can use the game material all the time. It never goes out of style. Nobody's going to come police you or anything else.
Is that what people are buying with Kingdom Death? I just look at the huge Lovecraftian nightmare monsters thing. That's cool. Are people actually looking at the boobs?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Hang on a minute. I got some right here. I mean, it's like I can actually show them off on stream because this is one of their huge Lovecraftian nightmare monsters that I recently painted up. But this is one of their big signature pieces I'm also working on, and as you can see, she's pretty chesty. And she's got a great ass. And feet, if you like that.
You.
James hates feet, so I love to bring that up every chance I get.
Call me Grim.
I'll shield over here.
But that's part of the other thing too about Lamentations that I really enjoy is the fact that the artwork is like it. I mean, I don't know how to put it. It's just it ain't corporate,
no,
and it absolutely does go for what people want to see. I mean, it's more visceral because it's like, yeah, you've got boobs and butts and gore and phage and everything else. It's just
stuff with character.
Yeah.
I review a lot of games, and there is this kind of standard Wizards of the Coast corporate dreck.
Oh God,
pastel mush that you tend to get, and so when I see anything different to that, I get vastly overexcited by it. But that always happens with Lamentations. Even the stuff I don't particularly like necessarily, like Kelvin's sketches, it's still got a lot more character than anything else that I find, and that's got to be worth a lot, I think.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is stuff from the Players Handbook. It's like, technically, yeah, it's mostly fine, but seriously, who could identify with any of these characters?
Or it's got nothing to do with identifying with the characters. It's just you look at these characters, and it's like, okay, what do you do in this game? And I get no sense of like going into dungeons and fearing for your life and being in any sort of dangerous situation. That is not what this art is saying about the game.
No,
that would be. I mean, I've seen a couple of these. I haven't seen a lot of them before, but there's no sense of adventure or danger. That like, what is this for? What do you do if this is who your characters are? It's not any sort of Dungeons and Dragons that I'm familiar with.
Exactly. Go ahead.
I mean, does anyone? Put that back up, please.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I have to restart it again. There we go.
It's like, is there anybody that's like looking like they're putting in effort or have any concern or any? I mean, what? There's nothing there that says adventure, going off into the unknown, facing the unknown, and that's the problem with this art. If it communicated that sense of danger and that sense of adventure and what you do in a Dungeons and Dragons game, I wouldn't give a crap about the pastel and what color people are. That stuff doesn't make it. That's an art style, but it's not communicating anything about what you actually do in the game. And for all people complain about new Dungeons and Dragons, you still go on adventures, you still go into dungeons, you still fight monsters, right?
Oh yeah, supposedly.
So why doesn't any of this art communicate any of that? Well, I suppose there's one, but even then, the character doesn't look the least bit concerned. There's no danger in the combat that we can see. That's the problem.
Yes.
I think it's because that their perception of the identity of the game is actually their personal, real life perception of identity, and not the game's identity. There's a conflict of identity there.
Yeah, and this is from Lamentations right here, and this is like
rulebook,
yeah, that's in the core rulebook, man. This tells you right away, hey, guess what? This could happen to your character.
Yeah, we took her and we we went underneath a fortress, Suomenlinna, and and like took photos, for reference. Had a real lantern. That this we should do another photo shoot. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, never mind. I'm not finding what I was wanting to show you. Okay, sorry for the dead air. I thought I had something handy. Here it is. It's like, here's from another photo shoot. The same person. This was the photo shoot that was part of the alternate cover for the Rules and Magic book. We used it as a GenCon program cover one year, and it took her. We did a photo shoot outside where I was pouring actual cow's blood all over this poor woman, and to get good reference photos for the art. And it's funny. After the photo shoot was over, I said, "Oh man, that looks cool." So I started pouring some of the blood on myself, and it was freezing cold because, of course, we'd refrigerated the blood before, And it's like, oh, okay. That's why you look miserable. This is
Yeah, it's the cold, not the blood.
Yeah, but it's the idea was using blood and that to make it look rough, because this is Lamentations is a horror game, so it's going to be rougher than Dungeons and Dragons, but still, it's the game is about facing the unknown and going into danger and facing danger. And shouldn't the art reflect that?
Exactly.
That's what the game is. So communicate it.
One of our panelists, who is not here today, which makes me upset because I wanted him to ask this question to you directly. But back when we were trying to shield your products, letting people know, it's like, hey, guess what? The U.S. warehouse is, in trouble. They need to sell product. So this is your great opportunity. Go buy a bunch of their stuff. Because, I bought a bunch myself even. But, his comment was like, well, who is this game made for?
Well,
Yep.
Honestly, me. Well, I see this more as a creative studio than something that's just pushing out product. And sometimes we're less creative studio and more product, depending on the thing. Sometimes, no, I'm not going to name any titles, but sometimes you have what you think is a great idea, and it turns out kind of, but you've already invested in it, so it's just kind of like, it's hopefully people don't get too mean about this. It happens, I'm not at a level where I can invest in a project and then just dump it if it's not perfect, but the idea is like, it has to appeal to me because I'm the one taking the risk. And why would you make something? Why would you be in this line of work? I do it for a living, but even if it was just on a hobby level, why would you do something that doesn't reflect your own tastes? I mean, there are plenty of bigger companies in this industry that is all about trying to figure out what the average gamer wants, and I'm not going to outmarket or outperform like Dungeons and Dragons if that really is what's popular these days. As far as the imagery and everything, it's if I wanted to do something that was just for other people, I could go get like a real job with a steady paycheck and some security. But the point is, it's like, I want the authors to put something of themselves in the books. When I write my stuff, I want something of myself in the books. This is my taste, and hopefully someone else likes it too. And if they don't, then I've got to go get that real job. But yeah, so the idea of who is this for? It's like the format this is a role-playing book, so it has to be functional as a role-playing book. But there's no idea that, we're trying to hit that demographic, trying to appeal to that person. Like, no, we have a cool idea, and we're going to take this cool idea as far as we can in the particular book. And once the creative part is done, then I got to worry about selling it, which I'm completely horrible at marketing, because my marketing is basically stuff's available, please buy it, and then hope people will review it, tell people what it is, because I mean, I'm very uncomfortable with hyping up my own stuff, because it's awful. Great example, just today I was down at the record store. The Finnish band Unholy, they released their demos on CD, and the little sticker that was on the package said, "Unholy are arguably the most original, avant-garde, definitive, and important Finnish extreme metal band." I was like, no, they're freaking not. Well, I obviously like them, but oh my God, it suddenly made me, I now support misinformation laws on the internet, because it's just awful.
It's very Trumpian, isn't it? People are saying
they're good. Hopefully their demos don't sound like ass, but I like them enough to buy their demos that have just been released on CD 30 years later. But why would you do that? I mean, it's just not true. It's not even remotely true. And and I've done things like Broodmother's Sky Fortress. For the back cover of that, I said, this is the greatest adventure ever, and I was intentionally being sarcastic with the way I did that. Or the back cover of Eldritch Cock, it was just a complete joke.
Yeah. It's a way of sort of short-circuiting your brain so you can do the marketing. By undermining yourself. Yeah.
I can't. It's like I have the writers write their own back cover copy now, because it's like I feel dirty doing this. And even for Don't F the Priest, I don't even say anything about what the adventure is. I just get the atmosphere across. So I'm sure that's not going to help sales, long term. But it's like, I don't think there are any bad words. So let me read you the back cover of Don't F the Priest.
Okay.
Filth, rot, decay, infection, the smell of vomit, the goodwill of venereal disease, and the excitement of a terminal diagnosis.
Ooh.
Is that fluid from a putrefying corpse or an orgasmic discharge? Taste it and find out. A unique hunting adventure for use with Lamentations of the Flame Princess, weird fantasy role-playing, and other traditional tabletop role-playing games. That's my idea of hyping up a release. I don't do marketing speak to my own detriment, but it's just
I always think
I hope the adventure feels like when you play it. But for someone that's used to, just hype.
There you go. You wanted a story about people running it.
One person is going to think when they look at that back cover and think, what is this?
And Nick Beardia, who is one of our friends, said, they ran it 2 weeks ago and only one player lost their cock. But there you go. You wanted a story about people running it. So
yes.
We love Nick Beardia too. He's got something crazy coming up. I can't wait to kickstart this, but he's got the Deck of Many Triggers coming out in September, and I cannot wait to get that, because that looks hilarious.
I'm sure that will be generously covered and well reviewed across the entire RPG media sphere.
Well, I'm gonna share it out because we still support the smaller gaming community and independent games. That's what we do. I don't want, if I don't need to advertise for Dungeons and Dragons, they have huge marketing departments that take care of that just fine. But how many people have heard of the Deck of Many Triggers? How many people have heard of Broodmother Sky Fortress? You know, how many people have heard of Whitechester? You know, these are all. This is the stuff that actually means something to me as a gamer because it's got more heart and it's got more soul than let's go on the great taco trip adventure with the other D&Ders in the Radiant Citadel or whatever. Screw that.
Tacos.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's like, oh, this is our big multicultural release where no white people were involved in the writing of this book whatsoever. And so the entire series of adventures basically reads like running through the night markets and sampling all the food.
Wait, is that exaggeration, or is Wizards of the Coast actually advertised a book like that?
It's called The Radiant Citadel. Yeah.
They made a big, huge statement about how it wasn't written by any white people at all.
That was their big tagline, is like no white people were involved with the creation of this book.
Okay. That seems weird.
I mean,
see, this is I can't process the kind of social dynamic where that's acceptable, because I think pick any other group and do that same thing, and that would not fly. That you would advertise and brag, no Jews were involved in the making of this book.
Yeah.
Oh God, why would you do that? Why? I know, I'm not living in a cave. It's like I know why they're doing that, but why would you do that?
Well, it's a lot of LARPers in Hamas, I think, with all those tunnels.
Oh yeah. Well,
lots of engineering.
And also, I might point out, this is one of the pieces of artwork they use to represent, my people. So yeah, no. Apparently, I wear sandals and serapis and carry my corn around. And
what is the context? Where was that art placed in the book? What was going on around the art?
This is a character from one of the adventures that takes place in a extremely stereotyped, pseudo Mexican locale. I don't remember reading through the entire thing because basically I took one look at the artwork and said, this is crap. But this particular image stuck out to me because they put stuff like this in there and it's kind of like, is that what you think of us? And then, of course, the latest one, of course, is the Latin Orcs, which is my favorite. I enjoy that so much. I have been running my ass off with that all over social media because I think it's hilarious. So,
wait. Explain. I don't keep track of Wizards of the Coast stuff. So, what are you talking about?
Oh, you didn't see this? Okay, hang on a minute.
I pay no attention to anything Wizards of the Coast says about D&D. The last thing I really paid attention to was when they were doing the OGL garbage, because that might affect me. But this is
official Wizards of the Coast artwork for half orcs or orcs. What do you see?
I see. Again, what is this trying to communicate?
Exactly.
I mean, so is that like a kid doing falconry there in the bottom center? It's like, what's the context? What are you supposed to get from this?
That's kind of what I'm wondering too. It's like, so apparently that's what they associate Hispanics like me or Latinos with as falcons, horses, desert terrain with cacti, and big hats. That's Mexicans are all about that stuff, right?
Okay, I'm going to be ignorant again. Why are you saying this is Mexican?
Because being a Hispanic, Latino, Mexican myself, I recognize that this is the kind of stuff that my people used to wear, back in the 40s and stuff like that, or a lot of the art, a lot of the garb is reminiscent of what the gauchos would wear, stuff like that. The cowboys, the original cowboys.
Yeah, it's not even giving fantasy vibes, even really.
Yeah,
not really.
One person has an axe, and I guess there's a couple people with bows, or one person with a bow anyway. Okay, so they're giving these orcs or half orcs. What wasn't that the complaint with like old adventure modules? Oh, you're coding these goblins as Native American, and that's bad, or
Yes.
Orcs are black people, and that's bad. And then
Yes.
if they're okay. I don't understand the rules. I don't. I'm.
Well, I've got a bone to pick with you. I think your representation of Puritans and Roundheads in your products is insulting to my ancestors, and I demand you change it all immediately.
But you can't be racist against white people, Grim.
No, this is religious persecution.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All about that. Remember remember all the religious nutcases left England to form the U.S. That's what we're all about.
But that's okay. It's like if Wizards of the Coast is going to run with that depiction for my people, then I am happy to embrace that. So here's one of my characters, that I'm going to be featuring in a game pretty soon. This is Jesus, the panaderia operator. So the characters can stop in and buy some wonderful some wonderful new products from him, or perhaps no, never mind. That's another product. But you get the point. It's like if that's what they're gonna say that we look like, or what we act like, or whatever like that. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll roll with it. Whatever.
Serious point though. How many of your products are to do with early colonial America? I know one of the new releases is.
Yeah, Colonial America. Hold on.
Is that orgasm or?
Because a lot of people won't touch that because it's colonialism, but I think it's a really potentially interesting period. At least the really early colonial settlements and so on.
Well, this one's Colonial Virginia, 1633. Yeah. And, the idea of this one is like a dimensional vortex opens up near the colony. My summary is, if you've seen the movie Annihilation. Excuse me. Annihilation in Colonial Virginia is the one phrase thing. What else have we done that's been?
I remember watching Bone Tomahawk and thinking, take away the guns, and this is an LOTFP adventure.
Yeah, it really is. That's a good movie.
And that was Old West. Yeah. I used to. I don't. We didn't work together, but the guy that directed that, S. Craig Zoller, he's an old metal writer. He's a metal musician. He worked for Metal Maniacs for a while. Had his own zine. So I considered him a contemporary back in my zine days. It's cool seeing him do stuff.
Yeah. And that
I love that you've gone early modern period for most of your stuff. That's my jam, I think.
Well, it makes sense because the way people play role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons, it's they say it's medieval fantasy, but there's nothing medieval about it at all.
Not at all.
So the early modern, by using early modern Earth, you're not making up, BS place names. It's like people understand what France is. People understand what England is. And so you can use real place names, and the way people understand the way the world works, the way that people play the game makes sense within the context of the early modern world. There's exploration and finding treasure and buying and selling using currency. All these things. Well, even that basic thing, in the actual medieval days, it wasn't the most common thing that people were dealing in currency. So even just a tiny thing like that, you just get rid of the BS. Early modern, people understand what you're doing, and the way that people behave is recognizable as fitting within the setting.
Yeah,
and there's some
and
familiarity because Warhammer Fantasy is kind of like that as well.
Yeah, and for my purposes, I think the 17th century, the early 17th century, is the absolute worst time to have ever been alive, no matter where you are in the world. Because there have been lots of awful things and awful time periods to live, but usually it's more localized. World War II, tens and tens of millions of people died, but there are places you can be in the world where you were not touched by the war. But just all the plague and religious conflict, colonization, there was nowhere you can go on Earth where life was not just completely horrible.
Yeah, I remember there was a period in Europe's history where they were just trading basically, borders back and forth because wars were just lasting for years and years and years, and all kinds of civil upheaval was going on. It was like, armies weren't getting paid, so they would just either turn around and start sacking the cities that they were told to liberate, or they'd get hungry out in the field, and people would go into starvation mode, and all the dogs and cats started disappearing for some reason, and it was pretty horrible. It's, this was all back in the 1600s and stuff. So. And that's that's one of the things I think that's kind of missing from a lot of role-playing games is the whole element of chaos is everywhere, and it impacts your daily life for the most part, even if you're just some innocent farmer out in the field or something like that, minding your own business, paying your taxes and whatever like that. When a group of armed mercenaries happens to wander by and takes a liking to your daughter or your fields or whatever, and just takes it because they got weapons, and you got like a hoe. What are you gonna do?
Send her to fight.
Yeah, send her to fight.
Implements too.
That would actually be a really cool idea for a game. It's kind of like your character plays like a farmer or something like that, who's landed everything and has destroyed everything by mercenaries, but your character happens to be an ex-soldier himself, and that actually sounds more like a plot for a movie. And it goes on.
No. Just leave him a
revenge
farmer and call the game "Guess I'll Die."
Guess I'll die. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny because Nick Beardy. I was watching his show the other day with Guardbro on it, and they were reviewing a book by a person whom I will not say, but James was on there talking about how the book made the demonologists and the devil worshiper dudes way more cool than the upright
game. That's yet another James.
Yeah, that's yet another James, Irish James. Yeah, how it made those guys way more cool than the upstanding paladin types or whatever, or the priestly types. What did you say? You said you were reviewing, the Polish game, and you were saying, that the demon worshiper dudes were cooler. You got a link, dude. You could come on the channel if you want. Okay, it's a perfect opportunity.
Though the thing is, the villains are usually cooler than the heroes, though. If the thing's well done, because the villain's the one that breaks all the rules and does the thing you're not supposed to do, and the heroes, they've got rules they need to follow, or they're not heroes. So of course, in a game situation, though, why would you want to be the hero if? Yeah, okay. I'm just talking out my ass because I don't know exactly what you're talking about, so I'm just speaking generally just to hear myself talk. I'm sorry.
Well, okay. I'll give you a comparison you can latch onto. Okay, one of the best.
Pro wrestling, the bad guys are always cooler than the good guys.
Oh well, yeah, definitely. Unless, of course, you're back in the 70s and 80s where people thought that it was all real, and actual heels were getting attacked in bars and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, but most people, the vast majority of people, they knew it wasn't real, even going back to the early 20th century. There was no time. There was no time, at least since the time of televised wrestling, where like the crowd was showing up and everyone thought it was real. That wasn't the thing. Yeah, there would be a minority that would get drunk and think, I'm going to stab that son bitch. But
yeah,
that wasn't the average member of the audience.
You got a few drinks in you? That's perfect. I want a drunk Nick Beardy on here. That would be awesome. But okay, it's like, to me, the class everybody should play in Lamentations is the magic user, the wizard guy, because they have the summon spell, which is simultaneously the most powerful spell ever invented in the game and the one that will cause the most amount of fun for the GM.
Okay, I will plug. If you order through the EU web store from lotfp.com and order anything, where we've got a number of what we call weird crushers that we're giving away with orders. You get one. We've got 5 new weird crushers, and if you buy 4 or more books, you get all 5. Otherwise, if you buy 1, 2, or 3 books, then you get 1, 2, or 3. Anyway, I wrote The Phantasmacist, which gives 4 new spells in the Eldritch Cock Vaginas or Magic format. And they're not quite the summon spell, but they're all designed to have everyone else in the party hate the magic user if they cast them.
Yes, I love it.
That's because the idea is that using magic should be dangerous. It's breaking physics. It's breaking the world. Nobody should trust anyone who does that.
Yeah.
So I like putting in things like the summon spell. When I run games and someone's playing a magic user with the summon spell, no one else lets them cast the spell unless everything is already going to hell. They won't let them. It's like, no, you're going to screw everything up. You're going to kill everybody. Don't use it.
Well, I read the
more spells that the magic user has that players react that way to, the better, because you shouldn't trust a magic user. They're insane. They're nuts. When I think the attitude of Lamentations of the Flame Princess magic user, I think Frankenstein. Especially the Peter Cushing hammer Frankenstein, just completely amoral. Well, I'm just going to do this just to see what happens, kind of thing. Herbert West, Reanimator.
Good one.
I think that's the correct attitude for a Lamentations magic user.
Well, I remember reading the play report of a group that went through The God That Crawls, which, by the way, is my absolute all-time favorite Lamentations adventure ever made, because it's just perfect. There's only one monster in it, but it's perfect. Yeah, in the after action report,
real monsters in that one.
The magic user was like casting summon after summon after summon, trying to get something useful summoned that they could, escape their predicament with. And in the process, I think they ended up sacrificing a hireling or another player in order to get a more powerful summon. So,
yeah. I think Lamentations is the only OSR game where the rest of the party kills the mage more often than they protect them.
They do.
No, you're not casting that. Backstab.
Neckbeardia says Death Frost Doom is the best and he will fight for that. Okay, fair enough. That is a good one too.
Well, I like Better Than Any Man.
That's an excellent one. I love that because it's a hex crawl. So.
Yeah, the thing about Death Frost Doom, I've told this story before, but I like telling it over and over.
Sure.
When I was first starting, doing this publishing thing, I had 2 adventures written. One was Death Frost Doom. The other one was No Dignity in Death, The Three Brides. And I had a deal with another publisher. They were going to do No Dignity in Death. And because I thought, okay, that's the masterpiece. That's the one that's going to show people what I can do. And then Death Frost Doom, oh, it's just a silly little dungeon adventure. I'll just do that myself. No big deal.
Yeah, who knew?
There's no point in me trying to write for people because I got no idea what people want.
Well, I think it's funny. Oh, go ahead.
I always think, writing and marketing, it's a bit like the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, right? Because we don't have anything else to compare it to, all we can compare it to is Earth. And in the same way, if you're writing for yourself, at least someone's going to like it. And
There you go.
You have to hope that that's a kind of baseline for everybody else.
Yeah.
I really think it's like, if you're going to run a Lamentations game, you pretty much need to let your players know ahead of time. It's like, hey, look, just don't get attached to these characters, okay? Because there's not a single adventure that you could run where they're not going to get horribly mutilated, maimed, killed, or otherwise just foobarred.
I don't think that's fair. I think the
Really?
atmosphere of Lamentations is different, but I don't think it's any deadlier than actual like old school D&D, like 70s, early 80s D&D. Because that, like Keeping the Borderlands, the classic starting adventure, that is a meat grinder if you just charge into the caves with your, 5 or 6 PCs. It's like, oh, here's a room with 20 orcs. You're screwed. Or like Horror on the Hill is supposed to be a starter adventure. And I don't see how anyone ever gets to the dungeon. That thing is just ridiculously deadly. It's just normal combats. An ogre is going to beat you over the head. It's nothing graphic, but I don't think the actual deadliness of Lamentations is any different. It's just got a nastier flavor. You're going to die in a more memorable way. But I don't think Lamentations is that deadly. It's deadly if you're comparing it to more modern D&D, which is supposed to be supposed to help you have heroic adventures and everything's supposed to be balanced. Then yeah, it's deadlier than that. But actual old school, actual D&D from back in the day, lower levels, was freaking deadly. That's like Dungeon Crawl Classics Funnel. That's what that's a parody of. It's like that's what happened to your characters if you're not taking care or if you have a bit of bad luck. First level characters are extremely fragile. And the thing with Lamentations, the idea was I always thought of Dungeons and Dragons. Well, I didn't always think, but I came to think of Dungeons and Dragons as a horror game as is. Because you're just deciding, oh, we don't want to be farmers. We want to do something more exciting. So we're going to go down this deep, dark hole and fight supernatural creatures so we can grab some cash. And chances are we might all die. This is a horror game. Going, this is ridiculous. This is not. That's what it is. So it's like, okay, what happens in the game? If you are in the world, you're one of the characters. What happens when somebody goes down to 0 hit points? Okay, show that.
Excuse me, guys. I gotta be right back.
Okay, it was like, show that when someone goes to 0 hit points. Oh, okay, here you're going into a dungeon. Well, the dungeon's not going to be constructed for the intruders to succeed. It's going to be an actual challenge because you're not supposed to be there. So do that. Present it that way. And that's how the whole Lamentation style started. Just it's like, okay, let's take the tropes and take them seriously. It's just a play style. If you just want to say, oh, I'm down to 0 hit points, oh, I fell over and died, and nobody's putting any more detail into it, that's fine. But if you think, okay, if I have a sharp piece of metal and I jab it into someone until they bleed out and die, that's going to be messy. So show the mess, and you have the exact same mechanic and a completely different atmosphere, completely different perception of what's going on without changing anything in the text. It's just put a piece of art next to it that shows somebody just getting ripped to shreds graphically, and people perceive it as a completely different thing.
Yeah. I often say that to people and point them to Lamentations to say, yeah, this is how you can present basically the same material in a different way to the degree that it feels like a completely different game. And it's all in the presentation and how you go about it.
Agreed.
Hopefully T-shirt will deal with his dog soon.
No, it wasn't.
It
wasn't the dog. It wasn't the dog. It was. I got some postal deliveries.
Uh-oh.
So she was going nuts.
All your Lamentations books that you ordered?
Sadly, no.
Well, now that you've interrupted the stream to tell us about your mail, what did you get? What was in your mail? We want to know. We demand to know.
Oh, well, let me go. If you really want to know, okay, I'll go get them. Hang on. Let me go get my knife, and we'll just do an unboxing on the air.
All right.
Lawsuit. Tax lien.
On the Lamentations group, LOTFP modern is a frequent tag. Any thoughts of doing a modern take?
No, I don't understand the modern world at all. It's like it's like I have a cell phone. I don't understand half the functions on it. I mean, I see people that are like native phone users and they're using their thumbs and they're typing. Me, I take the thing and this is how I use I don't know. And if you can't get your head around how people use a cell phone, how are you going to set anything in the modern day? It wouldn't look right. I mean, maybe LOTF 90s. I don't know.
I'm kind of the opposite. I resisted getting a cell phone for many, many years because I don't like the idea of people calling up and interrupting me. That was more of an inconvenience than it would be a convenience to have a mobile phone. So it wasn't really until smartphones came in, and then I could just use it as like an auxiliary computer, that I finally sort of gave in.
Yeah, I was so annoyed at having to carry that thing around that I started leaving it at home, and I bought a pocket watch because that's what I was using it for. I was using it to tell the time. So I just carried around a pocket watch, but I bought the cheapest pocket watch I could find, and it stopped working. So now I carry that thing around. So instead of looking at the world around me, I'm just reading the internet when I'm on the train or on the bus and being completely useless.
Some of those new foldable phones, people have taken to wearing them on lanyards. That's like one step away from going back to pocket watches, which would be quite cool, I think, if you went back to that and had them on a nice
I see
chain.
more and more people like getting like smart watches and this fancy stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Weirdo.
So here's what arrived. I'm actually happy with this one. So I got my copy of Ascendant, which I ordered from Autark, and I'll be happy to look through this on another
role-playing game of infinite possibilities.
Yes, well, it's a McCree product, and I like Alexander McCree. He's a cool dude.
Is that how you say his name?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I never knew that. I just called him Macris for the past 15 minutes.
Yeah, I've heard both.
The other box. Strangely, the thing I was really hoping for, I don't think... Oh, no, here it is. Here it is. Raggi, you might actually like this one. I'll have to take it out of the shrink wrap, but this is...
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
I've got that. Yeah, I got that at GenCon last year. That thing is what motivated me to make the big fancy version of this, because I looked at that and thought, oh man, they're outdoing us on production values. That will not stand. Oh, I've got the box. That looks like a slipcase thing, so I've got a fancier version than you.
Oh well.
Yeah, but
don't publish in boxes to the UK.
That's why the limited edition of this is the way it is, because it's like I am not being outdone by some Johnny come latelys with their project. No.
I have to blame Ironcaster for that one, because he pointed it out to me and he was like, "Look, it's a product that can finally rival Pundit for medieval authentic role playing." And I said, "Oh boy, I'm gonna have to get this to take a look at it now." So there it is. I'll save actually looking through them for unboxing videos, because I need more content on my channel. But now that I'm at 1,000 subs,
I've got one of those too, except mine's
James, say excuse me.
Free whoopee cushion.
Oh wow, you got an actual box, not a slipcase.
Nice.
VAT.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to going through that though. Yeah, I like OSR products just because it's just the cross compatibility is just beautiful.
Yes, that's the entire point of labeling or using OSR systems. They're all cross compatible. These days, people saying OSR because it's all got old school attitude and isn't compatible with Jack or crap.
Mm-hmm.
Sensor. It's like, what are you doing? Why? No.
So should we use like the term vintage for non-D&D derived revived old games?
The vintage renaissance?
Yeah. I've been hearing this thing NSR.
Uh-oh.
That's supposed to be like
USR.
OSR and feel, but like with newer mechanics. And that was awkward because somebody asked me at GenCon. Someone's asked, "So is this game OSR or NSR?" And I was like, "OSR!" It was just like so angry of a response. I like, oh, dude, okay.
Was that me?
I didn't mean for it to be that aggressive, but yeah, OSR.
Never heard of NSR before at all.
I haven't either.
I've heard of O5R.
Yeah.
I've heard that too, that's Shadow Dark, isn't it?
It's me and Victor came up with that. It's
the
fifth edition when it came out in 2014.
First person I heard using the O5R was Venger, I think.
Maybe Avenger did it before Victor.
Yeah, it might have been Venger. But Venger doesn't get enough credit for all the crazy stuff he comes up with.
Yeah, I think Victor made a logo for it though.
He did. All right, so Neckbeardia keeps pestering us about this, and I was going to ask you about this anyway. So let's just have the meat and potatoes on what's up with the Zach situation.
Well, every year at GenCon we've got a catalog we give out because I hate talking to people. So I figure if I give them the catalog that has details and everything on the table, they won't ask me questions. And actually, because that first time it was Ropacon here in Helsinki in 2010. First time I had a vendor table, and people were asking me, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, I have to explain that to every single person that passes by, and 90% of them are not going to care. I hate this already." So after the first day, I went home and I came up with a sheet that what is Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and just started passing that out to people, so I didn't know. So anyway, so I do that. So GenCon. I have a catalog I pass out. Past couple of years, we've put an adventure in it. And this year, the adventure is by Zach. And I don't think the first day of the convention, people hadn't seen the announcement, but nobody noticed. Nobody said anything because, we've got his name on the cover, but nobody was looking at that. They're just saying, "Oh, thank you." But yeah, he's back in the fold because I couldn't figure out why at this point didn't want to publish him. I mean, all the screeching and penalties and being shunned was all happening anyway. And the last book of his that I saw, Demon City, was so amazing. I saw that end of 2022. I saw the PDF, and it's like, how can this guy not be allowed to get his stuff out there? Because that was kickstarted before all the crap. And then it's like, this is so stupid. Even if you think he's the biggest son of a bitch alive, even if you hate the man, it's like, that's not a reason for his books to get, buried in a hole. And what am I here for? Am I here for friends and community, or am I here because I want to make books? And after that is like, okay, then let's make some books. I know the social conditions are that, people are going to expect me to be like a press secretary now. And it's just, no, as I said, I don't promote the books well as it is. So I just want to make books. I want to make good books. Zach makes good books, and no one else seems to want to touch him. So I was like, okay, let's hell with it. Whether this is the thing that drives me out of business, or, well, I hope it either drives me out of business or launches me back into more success. If it's just another thing that kind of sells some and it continues on just kind of halfway, what am I going to do? That's going to suck. Just kill me or let me live, Well,
I mean, that's like what I've been kind of saying all along. It's like, no matter what you think of the guy personally, I don't have any interaction with him, so I honestly can't say one way or the other what kind of person he is or isn't, or anything to that. So I have no dog in that fight, so to speak. But just judging him by the content of his work, I own Red and Pleasant Land. Unfortunately, I had to get a PDF because the actual books are sold out, and I can't buy those unless I want to pay $300 on eBay. But Veins of the Earth, I've got that, and then I've also got, like I said, I paid $175 for Maze of the Blue Medusa, and that is amazing. I mean, just the detail and the artwork, the printing, the actual adventure itself is just so cool. And I've got Zach's, what is it? He redid Death, Frost, Doom. Did he also do Frostbitten and Mutilated?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got those, and those are great. So I'm like, say what you will about the man personally, but he writes good stuff. It's like you don't necessarily have to like the person, but if you like what their works, judge the work. Don't judge the person.
Yeah. There's this I don't know if this is the way people actually are these days, or if it's just online noise, that you're never just buying a thing. You're also investing in the person who made it. And so you have to agree with them, and they have to be, just your type of person, or else you're hurting yourself for buying a thing you would otherwise like. And that's nonsense.
See, that's bullshit, because it's like,
oh, you're allowed to use the bad words.
Oh, well, I'll use that one because I think shit is actually okay on our list of words. But okay, H.P. Lovecraft, biggest example I can think of. You got people, screaming out of the woodwork, he was a racist and all this other stuff, right? So I mean, like, okay, so
he's not making any money off the sales of his books.
yeah. For one thing, he's dead, so he's not making any money off the sales of his books. I don't think even his relatives who are still alive are making any money on his books. But the point is, it's like, okay, so the guy was a racist. It's like, so he was not necessarily a good person, or he was a person that you couldn't agree with. Did he write really awesome stuff? Yes, he absolutely did. Judge the work, not the person.
I was already going to buy his books. You don't have to sell them to me.
Yeah, it's like that Greg guy. He made those Iries books with all his furry content and shit. But, it's like, we still like his books.
I don't know.
I mean, I buy things from people I disagree with, people who are objectively bad people. Not all the time, but every so often. I think I've bought that first Emperor album 3 times, and
oh yeah,
that's got a murderer on it.
Yeah, it does.
And you can pry that album out of my cold, dead hands, you know.
Yes, Neckbeard, yeah, you can judge someone on their merits. Totally can.
So my thing with Zach, I think, at this point is it would be difficult to sell anything that he's done because I'd be cut off from drive-through, for example.
Oh, yeah.
From anything of this there.
Yeah, his stuff can't go up on drive-through, so that's going to be difficult. But then,
and
so much of my stuff, it's not so much, but a number of my things, like "Don't F the Priest," wasn't allowed on drive-through. No reason given. You know, I've got other stuff on there, and other people have stuff, and like the stuff that's on there, I don't think it's any worse, but they decided on that one.
The other thing I think is I don't know how much of a mayor he is to work with because, I did nothing but support the guy or at least protest that he should be considered innocent from way back in, like, I hit it with my axe days. And yet he's been a really obtuse, nasty person to me, even when I'm trying to stick up for him, and really finicky. So I wouldn't want to work with him because I think it would be a massive ball ache to work with him if he's anything like that in his business dealings. I don't expect you to say anything because you'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
If you do.
I get along with him because it's, I don't know. I get the feeling he's got a little bit more patience with me than he does with other people, but I don't know. It's like, what's the goal? Again, I've had people that I've worked with that won't work with me again because I didn't mean to, but I was in some way difficult and offended them in some way in a working relationship. And
I don't see how, but
well, I don't think I'm nasty, but I often, especially when I'm dealing with work, don't do the pleasantries. Don't do the softening. Like there's this one guy I was working with for a bit of art that he sent me some sketches, and I went through the sketches, saying, don't like that. Oh, that's bad. No. Okay, concentrate on this one idea. And at the end of the project, he everything was late, my fault, not this person's. So, I got the thing, and I just put it straight to production. I'm worried about that. And like, I didn't send a thank you to the guy. I paid my bill on time, but I didn't thank the guy. This person's angry. I didn't thank them. And then I was just like rude to them, talking about their sketches. And it's just like, oh, well, that's how I talk to people, in the middle of like workflow. And they're like, thank you very much for your submission. And this thing, it's like, I don't. Yeah, so there are people that get upset with how I talk to them that I think I'm just talking to them. So
I can say please or thank you, please and thank you, or you can be paid on time and in full, which is more important.
Yeah, and so it's, so I'm maybe not the easiest person to work with. I don't know. I generally just deal with, when I find someone I can work with, I generally hang on to them until, they get pried away from me. But it's because dealing with new people, it's like, I don't know. There have been times where, it wasn't an issue of my tone or my being polite enough, but they weren't quite familiar with what I do, and then I hit them with one of my concepts, and they're like, whoa, no. It's like, okay, I'm not dealing with this person anymore. It's one thing if someone doesn't want to do a specific thing, but when someone gets angry at me for dealing with that thing at all, then it's like, okay, I can't talk to you anymore. That's you don't exist. You're now in the way.
Well, that kind of reminds me. That brings me to another interesting topic. I mean, you had to do a video about this one lately because you knew you were going to get a lot of flack over that particular weird crusher.
Thank you very much.
Well, no. All I wanted to ask. Yeah, I'm assuming I'm going to get that one in my order, which I'm not going to get the catalog because you ran out, and I specifically wanted that one. But damn it, but
we
that's
passed
okay.
out 1,000 of those things at GenCon. Surely somebody doesn't want it.
And they'll sell it to me for like $80 for something that they got for free. But yeah,
Well,
someone came by.
So why shouldn't they?
Maybe someone came by with a series of different mustaches and took them to sell on eBay or something.
Shit, I would. I totally would. I'd be like, yeah, can I get like about 7 or 8 more of these for my friends who can't be here? And yeah, just turn around and hawk that shit up on eBay for like, limited edition. He doesn't have any more. Only at GenCon. You can buy this one for $50. It's like pennies on the dollar profit. Okay. So
yeah,
is it Black of Night? Black of Night. Have you gotten much flack on that one? As much as you expected?
Not generally, but then who knows? It's the sort of thing that's a time bomb that at any point in the future someone can come across and be like, "What is this?" And, yeah, it ended up being a bit more than I was comfortable with, but I'm even more uncomfortable with saying, no, I'm not doing this. So, and then when someone, what happened was it's basically, it uses, the plot of it is that there's a slave ship that's traveling to the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
And a magic comet passes over the ship, turns everyone into raging cannibal people, and then the slaves basically break free, kill everyone, kill the crew, and then the ship, crashes, shipwrecks on an island, and they've taken over the island, and it was done in the spirit of Cannibal Ferox, aka Make Them Die Slowly.
I've got that film.
It's an Italian cannibal movie using mutated slaves as the cannibals, and it leaned into racial stereotypes. It's a real nasty piece of work. It legitimately is, and it was supposed to be, and it hit a few people. A bit wrong, to me. I was just doing another thing. Like I've done an adventure all about incest and suicide. I've passed out catalogs at GenCon where kids are impaled on pikes. So this one might be, it's of a more, it steamrolls over something that's more socially sensitive than these other things. I mean, there's not an issue in the world with kids being impaled on pikes. There is more of an issue with racism, and so using our usual tact and diplomacy in dealing with that issue, we rubbed some people the wrong way, and completely guilty as charged. I mean, my concern was, okay, this is really rough, but we need to emphasize that the comet made these people like this, that this isn't how they are. Once that was done, to me, everything just became fictionalized. And so we're not dealing with anything real anymore. Other people disagreed, and, yeah.
Well, other people think that, orcs are either black people or Mexicans. So.
Yeah, but these were LOTFP fans, the people that understand what we do. And it's one thing if, people out there on the internet get upset, and it's just like, yeah, you want to censor everything. When it's someone that's been on board with all the stuff that we've done, and you still get to them, then it's just like, oh, that's not... it's not a nice feeling that you've pissed off the people who are thick-skinned. And it's just like, okay, maybe we, shit.
I'm kind of jealous. I'm kind of jealous, to be honest, because I did something very similar and no one even noticed. So I'm jealous.
You gonna call it out or no? Nah, that's okay.
It was an adventure for blood called Black Mass,
Oh.
which was partially inspired by Clive Barker's Candyman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the descendants of this cannibal tribe have taken over an old city block, and there's a conspiracy around them. That's basically it.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Well, that's okay. When I get my copy next week, I'll be sure to mail it along to the NAACP for you, James. But, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Although I do want to mention something, because I had to make a follow-up video, because when I did the video addressing it, I didn't name any names, but the person had put their original complaint up on the internet. And apparently, when I made the video, people who are other LOTFP fans started giving this person shit for making a complaint, which I hated, because it is a sensitive issue. And if you don't like something, you have the right to say it, and you shouldn't get attacked for it. That shouldn't happen, and I hate that. That's the part I hated most of all. That apparently there is a section of my fans that when I complain, when I have a complaint that's coming from a person, and I deal with the complaint, they'll go after that person. And it's like, how do I get rid of those people? I mean, how do I get rid of them or make them stop? Because to me, that is the tactic of the enemy,
Exactly. And that's something that we're...
Don't do that in my freaking name. No.
You can't stop them. All you can do is distance yourself from it, and like you have, and say, don't do this for my sake. But you can't stop them.
Yeah, that's something that we're actually having to deal with these days. It's like there are folks I'd like to bring on to talk to, but I know that if I do, I will be attacked by certain pundits out there who don't want this person to get any airtime, or want to specifically criticize this person for remarks they've made about things that have nothing to do with gaming. And I've had folks on this channel that later turned out that they were some kind of nasty or whatever, and I'm just kind of, I didn't know at the time, and I'm just kind of like, I didn't bring them on here to talk about their politics or how they feel about certain people. I brought them on here to talk about games. We're a pop culture channel, okay? We want to talk about movies, we want to talk about games, miniatures, toys, whatever, but we ain't talking about, we ain't talking politics. We're not talking about, racial divides or anything else like that or anything else. I mean, unless, of course, they're making fun of Latinos, in which case I'm more than happy to poke fun at them for that, because I'm a Latino. So,
yeah, it's the hypocrisy that bugs me. People who've spent the last decade or so telling people to keep their politics out of games, and now they turn around and all they're about is politics.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with anything else, and I guess you feel similar if you're, looking at Zach Smith stuff and you're saying, hey, it's a shame that this guy's not getting published because he's so damn talented, and he is, and I'm glad you're doing it. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting Zach on the show if, he was okay with it, but again, if I did, I'm almost positive I'd have a bunch of people screeching at me or trying to get my channel canceled and everything else just for quote unquote platforming somebody. I'm kind of like, I'm not platforming anybody. He's not here to talk about his views on stuff. He's just here to talk about games. Okay. If games offend you in and of themselves, then you have a issue that's deeper than anything I can imagine. But we're not here to talk about politics. I don't care. Well, I do care, but I'm not going to sit here and talk about what's going on in other parts of the world and how it's bad and what we should do about it and all that other stuff. People don't tune in to me to hear that. They tune in to hear what we've got to say about, the latest Wizards of the Coast scandal, or, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, or what's the newest cool video game to play, or what to avoid in video games, or what show you don't want to watch because it's garbage, like The Rings of Power.
Okay. So do you watch that just to complain about it?
I watched the first season just because A, it was free because it was on Prime. So I figured, yeah, why not? And B, because watching it, I wanted to see for myself how bad it really was. And I figured only if I watch it myself can I see how bad it really is and tell other people how bad it is. But
I mean,
yeah.
I suckered into things like, I didn't touch Rings of Power because it was like, that's not gonna.
It's trash.
Yeah, and then like the new Doctor Who. I watched the first new episode with David Tennant, coming back, and I was like, okay, this isn't the same as it was. And I just didn't watch any of the other Tennant specials. Didn't watch anything with the new guy because obviously it's not for me. There's no reason for me to continue to be complaining about it. But then I'll watch something like the Flash movie, which is just the god awful worst. I watched it on an airplane. Or was it on an airplane? Or I don't know. But I watched it expecting and hoping to enjoy, a functional superhero movie. And it was just the biggest mess. It was worse than the first Aquaman. And I remember when I watched that first Aquaman movie, it was like somebody wrote an outline of what all the scenes should be about. And then the outline was used as the shooting script because the dialogue out of everybody's mouth was basically, this is what the scene is about. Oh my God. Oh my God.
What if we could drown Willem Dafoe for like 2 hours?
Oh, come on now. But oh, by the way, James, this is Ironcaster. This is the guy who asked the question, who is this game for? So
it's for everybody. Everybody will enjoy it. Everybody buy it now.
Let's
Family
put it on
friendly, all ages, gluten free.
Absolutely, yeah. Just
speaking of all ages, I shouldn't talk about this publicly because I don't know how I get away with it, but there's a few titles where there's nudity on the cover. And we put it out, every year we have this stuff out at GenCon. Nobody's complained miraculously. But what I find funny, and I find this is true, European conventions, American conventions, little kids that are just passing by and just looking at things and not interested, being dragged along by their parents, they will immediately become transfixed by naked people on the covers of the books
because they've never seen it before.
It up, and then here come the parents saying, no. And when that happened at GenCon, I was like, oh, is this going to turn into a thing? Please don't turn into a thing.
Come away from the nasty man.
They seem annoyed, but they just walked on by. And I was like, oh, I hope nobody comes and talks to me. I'm just selling books. Because the official product guidelines for GenCon read like old Comics Code Authority stuff. There's a lot of the stuff that's just like, this is not here because it's real. This is here so they have any excuse to boot you out if there are complaints.
Yeah.
There was a porn patrol at GenCon from 1994. I didn't know about that. I don't know, man.
I always tell this story about Dragon Meat in London. I think the second year they had their anti-harassment policy, which covered all of this stuff as well. And me and a few people sat down and we went through the policy, and about 80% of the vendors would have to go if they enforced it, because it was that stringent and stupid. Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of the games I've been involved with had to deal with some pretty crucial subject matter. I mean, and we handled it as tactfully as we could, but when you get around to it, if you're talking about stuff happening in a zombie apocalypse and how people are basically going to turn to whatever resources they possibly can in order to survive, including the capturing of other people and enslaving them to do stuff, it's, that happened. That's going to happen. I mean, but,
So we can't do any of that anymore.
Oh, yeah, we can't do that anymore.
No. It can only be stuff that doesn't possibly make people feel uncomfortable about some bad things that happened hundreds of years before they were born.
Oh, okay. Well, Ironcaster, let's tomorrow when you join the game, let's fire up our game, and I'm gonna start you off as a level 2 barista, and I'm gonna have you on the espresso machine. Okay, is it okay? Can you handle it? Is mixing white milk with black coffee too offensive to you, or?
All this cultural appropriation over these beans. I don't know if I can handle it. Let me get my frappuccino and see if I can't make myself feel better.
Well, I mean,
my game tomorrow.
It is, but I'm just
Okay. I'm
just being fun. Yeah. But yeah, it's like, can we Ironcaster, I was going to send you a blanket for your birthday, but I thought that might be misinterpreted as being culturally insensitive to your Native American heritage.
Yeah. It is pretty nice. I'll have to go add it to my wigwam.
Oh, okay. James, if you don't know, Ironcasters he's our Native American representation on the show.
How are you doing?
Card carrying, literally.
You had a serious question from Johan W.
Okay, let's see. Okay, serious question: how is it to be on GothCon in Gothenburg, Sweden, in comparison to GenCon? Okay.
Göteborg, if I can screw up the pronunciation. That's a much smaller convention. I mean, it's just like less than a 90-minute plane ride over in Sweden. It's tiny, tiny, tiny in comparison. They take over a school, and yeah, it's just a lot less busy. That's because all I do at these conventions usually is just sit behind the table and try to sell stuff. And there's, it's what, 1/20th the size of GenCon. And so, yeah, it's just a lot of dead time. It's just a smaller convention. That's all there is to say. They just put us in there's this assembly hall that's got a stage. That's where they put the vendors. I think they also use another room. And yeah, it's just a lot less of a hassle because it's such a smaller scale, but then the rewards are a lot less as well. So, but yeah, it's not, it's just a smaller convention, and it's cheap to do, so it's worth it. Even though,
I thought it was kind of cool. The I guess it was last year you were posting up pics of what the Prime Minister of Finland was touring to see, like all the products and stuff that were being produced in Finland, and he was looking at your books.
No, that was from some years back. That picture.
Oh, okay.
There's a museum. There's a games museum.
Okay.
A couple hours north of here, and I've got a spot. I've got my own little exhibit in there, and there's a picture of the then president of Finland touring this games museum, and he has this weird look on his face, which honestly he usually had that look on his face, but he was looking at my exhibit, so that was just a funny thing to do.
I was thinking, it's like, do these guys they know that like Finland is like one of the black metal capitals, one of. So I was kind of like, do they hear that stuff? I mean, from what I understand, it's like, doesn't black metal music actually appear on some of the top 10 charts over there and stuff?
Very rarely.
Not really?
Every so often, yeah.
Well, you have to realize, T-shirt. They have more metal bands than people per capita.
Yeah, I heard that's actually one of the biggest concerns of like the parks services over there is that, finding lost black metal bands who were shooting album covers in the forests.
Yeah, that most bands per capita though, everybody's in like 10 bands. So
yes, that's the other thing I noticed is like everybody has like it's like you look up somebody and it's kind of like, oh yeah, he's in this band and this band and this band and this band, and I'm like, Jesus, where does this time go? It's like, I have enough of a problem holding down one job. How in the hell is this guy doing like 4 different bands and holding down a job?
It's like how all industrial bands were basically side projects of Pigface.
Yes.
Yeah,
That was always funny.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Well, has anybody else got any burning questions for James before we let him go? Because we got about 5 minutes or 9 minutes or so, I suppose.
If you would recommend one module that's currently in print to pick up for someone who's okay with all the themes and everything of Lamentations, but has never played it, besides like a core book, like what would that be? What adventure would that be?
God that crawls.
The God that Crawls, that's inside Adventure Anthology Fire these days. What I would say, well, I can say get the expensive thing because it's the new expensive thing. Or my personal newest masterpiece, which we sold out all of our GenCon copies, but plenty in the web store. But classic that stood the test of time. I would think either Death, Frost, Doom, or Better Than Any Man.
I would highly recommend Better Than Any Man, just because it is a hex crawl and there's so much stuff you can do in it.
Games Master Book. Games Master Book.
That's with the editor. It's out of my hands. We've
Awesome.
gone through a few editors. That book is cursed, but it is progressing. My part is done.
I promised I'd thank you again, so my GT is done.
There you go.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the Staffordshire Trading Company Works book.
That is an excellent book.
I love that. That's my favorite. One of my favorite map books.
What is it? Is it 100? Is it 128 or 160 pages? I forget. But whatever it is, the book, is all maps, all researched historical maps. It's got like a framing device, that the maps basically. There was this merchant that sailed around the world, but the Staffordshire book, it's usable with any game because it's just maps. And that's one that's easy to sell at conventions because you just flash the book at them as people pass by and they're like, "Ooh, what's this?" You don't have to be interested in Lamentations or the OSR or anything because every gamer needs maps.
Oh, I do love maps.
Oh, I do love maps. Okay, so from Engine Joe, we got, what is your favorite method for priming minis?
Spray painting them with white paint. I haven't done it for like 30 years, but yeah.
There you go. I'm the one to talk to about the miniatures, Joe, because I'm the one who gets all crazy with the, you need to use Zenithal priming. But, let's see. Neckbeardia, what system to run an LOTFP adventure if you're not using LOTFP? Good question.
Old Mensa Red Box, Old School Essentials, Labyrinth Lord, Osric. I mean, it's
Worlds Without Number, Scarlet Heroes.
No.
Drink. Apparently he ran Death Frost Doom with Death March game, which I want to see that, Neckbeardia, and that worked really well. So, and he says Towers 2 has grown on him.
Yeah, Towers 2. That's one of Job's. That's an interesting one because all the imagery in the Flash, it's just the most depraved thing. Well, not the most depraved thing ever anymore, but at the time it was released, it was just like, oh my God. I thought I was going to get in real trouble for releasing that one, and nothing happened with it. But underneath that, it's a very functional little adventuring, not quite big enough to be a sandbox, but an adventure environment that reminds me of Keep on the Borderlands with how it's set up, where you have these different factions, got a couple dungeons. It's like this really old school adventuring environment that just has this degeneracy and filth just painted on top of it.
Yeah, it is a good. That's actually, I had to pay for the free book edition, but when I got it, I was so happy I did, because not only was it in perfect shape, but it's actually one of the best adventures I've ever read. I'm like, you were giving this away for free? So, yes, naturally, when you re-released it in hardcover, I cursed your name and then bought a copy because, yes.
And you're talking about Better Than Any Man, because Towers 2 was always a hardcover. Or Better
I'm
Than
talking
Any
about
Man,
I'm talking Better Than Any Man.
Yeah, we have a hardcover Better Than Any Man. We're running low on copies, but I think we only printed 500 of those, so you better jump on that fairly soon if you're wanting a copy.
I'm surprised Neckbeard didn't bring up the Fecal Lands book.
Yeah, me too. I'd like to see somebody run that. But,
yeah, it is an actual adventure. I like having that on the table just because the faces people make is great because it draws the eye. Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
it
I'll
does.
stand up, enjoy my button shorts, but
yeah, I told you guys he's wearing shorts.
Yeah, it's one's gonna make you start quoting Jurassic Park. That is one big pile of shit.
It's like this is the cover, and it draws the eye at a convention when it's sitting at the table. It draws the eye. And on one hand, that's not good because not everything we do is a freak show. There are things that we do that normal people can enjoy. But the freak show is an element. And if someone looks at this and makes them curious, then it's like, okay, they're not going to have problems. This is, it's like we go. It's a very good shorthand. We will go there.
And
You need to hire someone cosplaying as Captain Spaulding to do your promotion at the table, I think.
Oh, I do have someone coming at Dragon Meet. Someone that's a very good salesman. Because that's the one thing that I'm hate doing, as I was talking about earlier. This is a guy, he does editing on my fancier videos. And he also works as a stage magician. And he showed up at UK Games Expo, and he was just there for 5 minutes, but he was just going nuts trying to sell everybody around. And, oh, this is so awesome. This is blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, you need to come to London and do this all day. Just, I will hire you to do this at Dragon Meet. I'm gonna run the most annoying table ever because this guy is just gonna grab everybody and start actively selling them on Lamentations, and because he's good at it and he seems to have no shame. I'm gonna be sitting there at the table going, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. He's actually talking positively about the things I'm trying to sell, but we'll see what the results are.
Well, if it helps, you can kind of wipe the embarrassment away with all the money he rolls in.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see. But it was, yeah. UK Games Expo was rough because I didn't want to talk to anybody, and there was someone that's good with people was supposed to be there, and he got COVID, so he wasn't there. And then one of the other authors was there, and he would not engage with the people. I mean, he was worse than I. It's like I don't want to. I don't think he could. And it was just like, oh, this is a dumpster fire of a table here. Oh my god. I mean, yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. That's the problem.
Cry yourself to sleep on a big pile of money.
Hopefully, that's the problem with these conventions. It's like, hey, I'm there. I'm dealing with people. I don't want to deal with people. It's nice when people who are already fans, like someone wearing a Lamentations shirt, it's like, haha, they'll be stopping by my table, and I know I can talk to them. So it's comfortable. But trying to take someone that has no idea who I am, and they want the explanation, and I can't just say, read the catalog, please. Oh my God, leave me alone. I have to engage with them, and oh, it's so annoying. It's because when I'm for me to be interested in something, I just need to know the general vibe. Like OSR game that's like heavy metal, independent European horror flavored. And it's like, okay, you're either interested or you're not. or that's me projecting. Either I'm interested or I'm not. Like when I hear about a band, like I've got like a 3,500 CDs, and it doesn't take much for me to want a record. It's like, well, here's this, here's that. I'll go on YouTube, listen to 30 seconds, be like, okay, I'm either sold or I'm not. I don't need the big sales pitch. I don't need to be convinced. I don't need the song and dance, but so many people do. You know, like I can wander the aisles at UK Games Expo or GenCon, and I will just walk around wondering who cares about any of this. And then I'll see something that seems to project the attitude I like, and I'm drawn right to it. It's like, okay. And there's not much of it. And it's like, okay, that's what, like this and the other things, it's like, that's what I'm wanting. I'm projecting the attitude. You're interested or you're not. Why do I have to talk to you?
I gotta scoot. I'm sure you guys are going to keep going for a while. Nice seeing you, Jim, and stay in touch.
All right. We're actually gonna go ahead and close up, I think, because we're past the 2-hour mark, and I promised James you wouldn't keep him for really a long time this time. So that, and I definitely have other things I gotta do too. And we're just meant to be a 1-hour show, but when we get really awesome guests on and we're having a good time and they're having a good time, I like to go longer. But I really did enjoy having you on again, and I'm glad you agreed to show up. And
okay, well, thank you for having me.
Hey, anytime, man. You got an open door. If you ever want to show up just to pitch stuff or whatever like that, just like buy my book, consider my YouTube channel, like a second home for you to pitch stuff on, because I will eagerly have you on anytime you wish to be here. And you got my email, so.
Or if you don't mind me speaking on a turn t-shirt, sure. Even if you want to just have a little like 30-second video or a minute video you want to have us play for something you got coming out, then shoot it our way. We'll be happy to help promote you.
Yeah, okay. We love to promote your stuff. We love to promote all the indie gamer stuff out there, because it's like everybody knows the big guy, but it's like we need to get more press out there for all the other guys who are doing stuff that's better, in my opinion, because it's got more heart, it's got more soul, and it's actually written by people who love what they are doing. They're not just doing it because they're getting a paycheck. So there you go, guys. Thank you for being on, and thank you very much out there, y'all in YouTube land who caught us live, and hopefully we didn't get this video demonetized, but if we did, it's like, well, that's okay, I guess. As long as you are tuning in, and if you're catching this on the replay, hey, don't you wish you'd been here? Till then, y'all take care and have a great week in Geek.
Later.
On behalf of the staff of the Independent California Motel, I wish you all sweet dreams.